I was born in 1980 up at University of Utah Hospital. Came back down, lived in Orem for a little while. My family moved to Provo about in the 1940s. They were worried about World War II. They were living in California, and they were worried that California was going to get bombed, so they got newspapers from all across the country and were checking out the different places, and they decided to move to Salt Lake City. And they came up through Vegas and came into the valley from the south, and they saw the lake and they saw the mountains and decided not to go all the way to Salt Lake. So they stopped here in Provo. My grandma went to the hospital, got a job as a nurse, and they found a little apartment, and they settled here with my mother, who was, I think, 6 months old at the time. It was in the 1940s. Maybe she was about 4 years old. Maybe my mom was about 4 years old at the time. They lived here their whole lives. My grandmother and grandpa, I never met my grandfather, but my grandmother was living in the house that I grew up in and still kind of live in now. So I grew up just north of the BYU Stadium and have lived in that house basically my entire life, on about an acre where I've been able to play and see the mountains every day. When I go somewhere flat like Kansas, I feel like I'm going to fall off because I'm so used to the mountains being there to catch me if I fell that direction. I went to Rock Canyon Elementary School, the old one that got torn down, and now my kids go to the new one. They walk to school. We live just a few blocks from there. Growing up, my father was not around. He was an artist and moved to Colorado. So I was raised by my mother. She was a real estate agent. So I would go around with her showing apartments, showing houses. I would see lots of houses all over the place. And my mother always expressed her desire to have integrity. If there was a problem with one of the houses she was showing, she would tell the people that were looking at it what she knew, even if it was something minor. She didn't want somebody to get into a house that they couldn't afford, that was going to have hidden problems, that they were going to be unhappy with. And so she, even if it meant losing the sale, she would tell people what the truth was. She would say the truth, even if it meant losing the sale. That was really important to her. And so I feel like I've tried to carry that myself. I don't want to tell somebody something untrue, even if it means hurting their feelings, even if it means costing me a business deal or votes, I guess, in this case. I'm not going to tell a lie. I cannot tell a lie. I would not feel right about doing that. So I think that's one of the biggest things about myself, is that I'll tell anybody what they want to, if they have a question, I'll tell them straight up answer. You may not like the answer that I give, but if I tell you something, it's going to be the truth. So I got that from my mom and my grandmother. She was also very, very truthful. Growing up, we had books in my house. Many, many books. My mother was a voracious reader, so I grew up reading all the books that she read, and she loved science fiction. We had all the great masters of sci-fi in our house: Asimov, Niven, Bradbury, every author, Frederick Pohl, Paul Anderson, yeah, everybody. Can't remember them all. There are too many. But I have a great love of science. I think science and physics are my favorite topics that I studied in school. Robotics is also a passion of mine. I have worked on autonomous vehicles. I worked on the DARPA challenge. I built an autonomous truck. I worked on the University of Utah's robotics team that entered the DARPA Urban Challenge with our vehicle Red Rover. And I've been very passionate about robotics, including BattleBots. I tried to build a BattleBot. I have gone to go see BattleBots several times. There's another robot builder here in the area, Jerome Miles, that I've met and helped him build his robot for the last season of BattleBots, Red Devil. That was built at the makerspace that I run, ProVolt. ProVolt has a piece of equipment called the WaterJet, and it can cut basically anything. A lot of the titanium panels and hardened steel panels for Red Devil were cut at ProVolt on our WaterJet. And I was very proud to be able to help them with that. I'm very passionate about helping other people experience the joys of technology. That's why I started ProVolt. It's a place where people can experience 3D printing, learn about electronics, robotics, welding, microcontrollers, programming, building things out of wood or metal. I've got 3 kids and a wife. All 3 kids by the same wife. My oldest son, Winchester, he's 7 right now. He's going to be turning 8 in August. Wisteria, she is 5, turning 6 in July 5th. And Wesley is 1.5. He'll be turning 2 in December. So they are great. I love my kids. I am a bit of an entrepreneur. I am also a bit of an inventor. I've got 4 different patents in various stages right now. Probably the biggest patent that I've been working on lately is a patent I got a while ago. It's basically the patent behind VidAngel. It's the one that they were using to store and provide remote access to media. Now they've been sued, so it's not quite as effective for them anymore. But I was pretty happy to be able to help them out that way. Hopefully they'll win in court. I am in support of VidAngel. I was raised in Provo, so I used to go to church. When I was about 5 years old, my mom told me, you need to go to church so you can have friends, but you don't need to listen to anything they have to say. So I basically did that. I went to church so I could hang out with my friends and didn't really pay attention to much that they said. And I am currently an atheist. I don't have anything against Mormons or anyone else that has a religious belief, but I don't share it. What I feel like that means to me is I need to make any changes in the world right now. I can't wait for things to happen later. I can't wait for rewards later. I can't wait for things to work themselves out later, and I can't believe that anything bad that happens is any sort of plan. I need to make changes and prevent bad things from happening proactively. Some of the other patents that I am working on or have worked on, there's one that I can't really talk about because the other party doesn't want me to talk about it. Not that it's like, I think it's okay. It's not the greatest patent in the world, but it's something they wanted to work on, and so I was helping them with it. I also have a patent for a super fast 3D printer that will be about 1,000 times faster than even the carbon 3D printer. That's currently the fastest 3D printer in the world. And I also have a patent that I'm working on for a fusion reactor. That one just converted from the provisional patent to the utility patent application earlier this year. So if anybody's interested in fusion or has a background in physics, I would love to talk to you guys, poke some holes in this thing, because I think it'll work, but I'm not certain. I haven't built one yet. I still need to get funding to try to build it. So anything could happen. I'm optimistic, though. My schooling consists of going to Rock Canyon School. I was homeschooled a little bit in junior high. I went to Fair junior high, middle school, with a little bit of homeschooling. Went to Timpview High School. Did not graduate from Timpview, mostly due to their attendance policy. 3 absences or 7 absences would mean you failed a class, and 3 tardies would mean that you got an absence. 3 tardies was equal to an absence, and 7 absences would equal a fail in the class. And I was always late to class, so I basically didn't pass any classes through high school. So I basically just got a GED at the end, and then I went to the University of Utah. Actually, right after high school, I went to UVSC at the time, now UVU. I was there for a little while, and then I went up to the University of Utah. I was there for about 10 years, having way too much fun, and didn't graduate from there either. But I took a lot of physics classes, a lot of robotics classes, business classes, biology classes, enjoyed it a lot, lived in the dorms, had a great time. I would say that I am a serial entrepreneur, even though I have not had much success. I'm interested in cryptocurrencies. I'm interested in web technologies. I program. I've done back-end, front-end, microcontroller programming, that kind of thing. And I'm interested in taking ideas from my mind, turning them into code, and letting them go have their own life. Yes, I have had my IQ tested. I scored at the upper limit of the WASE 3, where it stops being accurate. I am a member of Mensa. I'm also an Eagle Scout. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Hungry, something or other. Yeah, the extra things we added. I'm not saying that I have all the answers for everything. Obviously, the devil is in the details. But in general, I try to steer towards the easiest thing to do. That works well in programming. You don't want lots and lots of lines of program code. The fewer lines of code you have, the fewer bugs there can be. That's just a general rule. And if you get rid of all of the Provo City code, then there won't be any bugs at all. The cleanest code there ever was Hello World. As far as a campaign slogan, maybe Disincorporate Provo or Welcome Dome. I don't know. Vote Fenley. I have a lot of domains. I like to play jokes sometimes. One of the biggest jokes that I have played is I bought a domain years and years ago, Illuminati backwards. And I pointed that domain at the NSA website. So if anybody types in illuminatibackwards.com, it takes them to the NSA. And I've redirected since I started counting, about 8 million people at the NSA website because they've typed in illuminatibackwards.com. Where am I on Maslow's hierarchy of needs? It's hard to say. I haven't actually looked at it for a long time, but I'm pretty much near the top, I would say. I also, I would say that I am not poor, if that's something that is important to people. I am not a poor person. I am very frugal. I am not rich, but I am wealthy. In fact, I was looking at, I don't know if I should even talk about that. I don't know. It's part of who I am. My family has been in real estate for a really long time, and we've acquired a lot of real estate. When I was looking at the contact information for the other candidates, I was surprised to see 2 addresses that I recognized because it actually turns out we own one of the houses that the other candidates is living in, which just totally surprised me. So I am definitely not a poor person, but I'm not rich either. I drive a 95 Honda Civic that I bought for $200. So I'm pretty frugal, and I don't spend lots of money on things that I don't have to spend money on. But at the same time, over the last year and a half, I've probably put $15,000 into the makerspace in rent and and paying utilities and paying to get equipment for the makerspace. I'm pretty passionate about providing opportunities to people. We don't charge anybody membership to come use the makerspace. We have one piece of equipment that's pretty expensive to operate, and we charge $55 an hour to operate the water jet, but pretty much everything else is free. We don't charge membership, and we don't turn anybody away to do 3D printing or learn how to use any of the equipment that we have. So I think everybody needs to have opportunities to grow. And I don't know what my life would be like if I hadn't had the opportunities that I have. And I think it's ridiculous that everybody doesn't have the opportunities that some people have. I'm a big proponent of basic income. Basic income is something that I think people should have. I would much rather society support someone and not make them work if they don't need to. We're so far removed from having to use our muscles to like lift heavy things to earn a living that I think society can afford to have some people that don't work. And right now, that's rich people. Rich people don't usually lift heavy things to make their living. And I think everybody should have the opportunity to read books. I'd much rather pay somebody to read books than pay somebody to flip burgers. I think society would benefit as a whole if people didn't have to work if they didn't need to. If we can give people homes and give them food and they can be happy in that home with the food that they have, then they're not out causing problems. If they can be entertained, bred in circuses, give people a home, give people some entertainment, give people some food and a little bit of spending money, and you eliminate most of the reason people turn to drugs or crime or anything. And even if they are using drugs, that's their own choice in a way. I believe that drugs should be legal. I believe that the government should get out of the way and let adults do their thing. And if they do drugs, that's their choice. If they want to smoke weed or do cocaine or heroin, that's their choice. I am very Star Trek-y. I like the Star Trek universe. I am a futurist. I believe that much of the technology that we see, much of the problems that we experience right now, they'll be solved by technology. The fusion reactor that I'm working on, if we have a working fusion reactor, and governments are spending billions of dollars on fusion research, but if we have an unlimited supply of energy, then you can desalinate seawater, and then you don't have water shortages. You don't need oil anymore, so you're not going to have environmental problems. The only thing preventing us from building giant buildings out of aluminum right now is the cost of aluminum. The dirt underneath our feet is like 10% aluminum. It's just energy cost. If we have an unlimited supply of energy, there's an unlimited supply of building materials. There's no reason to limit what we give or what we have for every person. I think as society, the collective fruits of society's technology should be a collective inheritance for everyone. Everyone should benefit from the technology that we have, not just the rich, not just people that can afford it. If I get an inheritance from my family, I think everybody should get an inheritance from society. And it would be better for everyone if the stresses that people have. This morning, I got a call at 4 o'clock in the morning because a friend of mine had gotten in a fight over his motorcycle. He called me and I rushed him to the emergency room. He had a concussion. But one of the things that was his biggest worry was not that he had a concussion. It was paying for the hospital bill and worrying about paying for the CAT scan that he needed. I mean, he had a big goose egg on his face and a cut lip, and he was worried more about the bill. He was worried about the bill for the numbing shot in his lip, about paying for that. He declined the anesthetic because he didn't want to pay for the anesthetic. So, I mean, people have a lot of worries about where their next meal is coming from, how they're going to pay rent, how they're going to make it through the winter. And those kind of worries shouldn't have a place in our society. I believe that most of the problems we have as a society are logistics problems, and they can be solved. And I don't want to see anybody sacrifice their health or their life or their well-being or stress so much over something that really should never be an issue. Where your next meal is coming from, you should never be worried to death over that. You should never, you can't live like that. It's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs there. If you're worried about your meal or where you're going to go to the bathroom, I've been homeless for short periods of time, and it's not a nice feeling, not being able to be clean, not being able to take a shower, not knowing where you're going to go to the bathroom. Those are worries that people have that they shouldn't have in our society. So yes, I believe in the future. I believe technology will solve a lot of those problems, and we'll look back at the way we treated people, and we'll be sick to our stomachs about how we treated people, because we could have helped them, and we didn't. And we could have solved their problems, and we didn't. We could have given people a place to stay, but we made laws that said that only four unrelated people can be in a house. It's ridiculous. And so I take the long view of the future, and I want to see the future. So I actually do intend to live forever. I don't think that I will die ever, and I've taken steps to ensure that I don't. I am signed up for an organization called Alcor, that is a cryonics institute down in Scottsdale, Arizona. I wear a necklace, I wear a little medical alert necklace that says, in case I die, do this to my body, so that they can, call them down in Arizona, and they'll come out and freeze my head, so that I can be revived hopefully in the future. Because I want to see the future. I think it's going to be exciting. I started ProVolt Makerspace a couple of years ago, and in August we were asked to attend a meeting at the White House for Makerspace organizers. And I met a lot of other Makerspace organizers there, and out of that meeting came a national organization called the Nation of Makers that Adam Savage is on the board of directors of. We are sharing best practices and trying to advocate for the benefits that the maker movement can bring. Economic benefits, learning, STEM learning. Lots of people that have ideas and don't know where to start, an invention or a product or any sort of entrepreneurial idea, they can come into the makerspace and we can help them get started, figure out how to help them prototype something. We can 3D print them something. We can show them how to solder up a breadboard and program a microcontroller to do the thing that they want to do. We can help them really figure out how to do what they're trying to do. And that can have long-lasting economic benefits. When somebody realizes that they can have an idea and they can actually build it, that changes their lives. And that's the kind of opportunity that I want everyone to experience. And I think everyone should have the ability to experience that. That's why I have pushed so hard to try to get a larger space here in Provo for the makerspace. I am currently in a lawsuit with the city over the old jail down in South Provo, and they are demolishing it right now. After the city council voted to use eminent domain to take some land from some people down by the lake to build a new road, I decided to look into exactly what the eminent domain statute was. I found that eminent domain can actually be used by individuals, and I decided to use it against Provo City to take a piece of property from them, the old jail down in South Provo. They fought against it. They said, oh, you have no right to do this. You don't have any standing. But I believe that what we were trying to do there is for the public good and would benefit the public. And the corruption that I've seen in the handling of that situation, the city is only making $100,000 from the sale of that piece of property. And I don't think it's right. We could have used that building and built a great community center. And a lot of people could have gotten a lot of opportunities that they would not normally get if we were able to use that space to build the makerspace that we wanted there. Parking and transportation are definitely big issues for Provo City. I think they are temporary issues. I personally believe that autonomous vehicles will change what we think of as a downtown area and what's required as far as parking is concerned, what's required as far as parking required for an individual business. I haven't really experienced any parking problems myself, but I can see how others would, especially the lot that's just north of the Marriott being turned into a hotel. That is where a lot of people have parked in the past, I know. So with that lot being gone, and the lot where Carillon Square used to be, or whatever, that old mall downtown being turned into the courthouse, parking could be a little bit more of an issue than it has been in the past. I know the courthouse property and the R.C. Willey building and the old jail are actually connected in like some sort of weird three-way land swap. So I feel like the jail property sale might be one of the reasons why the parking structure that was supposed to be built downtown might not have happened, because the jail property sale didn't happen. So they didn't demolish the R.C. Willey building, so they didn't build the parking structure that they were going to build. I've had some friends talk to me about parking problems in the past, particularly some friends that live north of Seven Peaks, and some of the streets there that are no parking streets for some unknown reason. And I would try to investigate why some of those streets are not available to be parked on, why some of the places that seem like they'd be good parking are not available. So I think the BRT will probably ease some of the downtown parking problems, as well as I think the free fare zone that they have up in Salt Lake would be a really nice thing to have downtown. Some way to let people ride public transportation for free. I know that it's being heavily subsidized already by the taxpayers, and when the taxpayers pay for something, I think they should be able to use it for free. That's my opinion. I would just get rid of any rule that Provo has concerning parking and let people park wherever they want. Unless they're like blocking the road, which some people do in New York anyway. So if people have to park in the middle of the road, sometimes they do it. I don't like parking tickets. I would give everyone free amnesty, parking ticket amnesty. That's going to get me votes, right? I think the biggest roadblock to economic development of Provo is Provo City ordinances that try to micromanage what people can do where. I would say if people want to start a business, they should be able to start it on their property, wherever they're at, as long as it's not bothering their neighbors. If they want to open up a corner store, I think they should be able to do that. I think if a business wants to come in and build a new building, they should be able to do it, even if it's not necessarily where Provo City has decided a building should be. I don't think Provo City should be micromanaging business growth. I have experience with the limited availability of commercial properties. I've been trying to find a place to put my makerspace for a really long time, and there is not much commercial property available that is reasonably priced. A lot of it's available and empty, but it's not reasonably priced, which means it's vacant. So it's sitting empty when it could be productive. Part of that is because the supply is so limited that the people that own it can demand high rents. If there was no restriction on building new buildings in other places, then I believe the value of those properties would go down, the rents would go down, and you'd attract more business. I'm not sure if Provo wants to be Orem. I know Orem State Street was voted one of the ugliest streets in America because of all the signage. And I don't think Provo would be happy with that amount of signage on any of its streets. But if people want stores, then I guess we should try to get stores. But I'm not sure that, I don't like the idea of giving temporary incentives to businesses or temporary deals or any kind of like favors to anybody. I would rather create an environment where people are able to thrive without those kinds of rewards by a limited legal infrastructure that doesn't prohibit them from doing things. I like less oversight, less laws, fewer laws that will restrict people from economic development. So if a big box store wants to come in, I don't necessarily think they should get a subsidy, but they shouldn't have to go through a lot of legal loopholes to try to get zoning ordinances changed to allow whatever building they want to build. I think they should just be able to come in and build something if they want. And if they don't want to be here anymore, then they should just leave. But that would be up to them. I have heard of a couple places where the legal restrictions on what you can do are very loose. Some of these places don't exist anymore, like the Kowloon Walled City. I think that is an amazing story of a place where 30,000 people lived in like 10 acres, something like that. And you had factories and dentist offices and a whole bunch of places that just were completely unregulated because there were no restrictions on what people could do there. So they just did everything, and they built on top of one another, 13 stories tall. And the only reason they didn't build higher is because there was an airport nearby. But it was a hotbed of activity. There was a lot of illegal activity there too, but there was a lot of good activity there. And I would say when you eliminate restrictions, you get activity. Anytime you can eliminate friction, you get more activity. So that's what I'm in favor of, reducing friction and increasing activity that way. You know, I believe that we are so far down the road of being controlled and put in boxes that a little bit of anarchy might be just what we need. I think social media is important, but I think in some ways it lacks substance. It's pretty flashy. You can get your message to lots of people. You can get something viral going, and things can explode. But as far as lasting impact, when you have social media and you're trying to be the next flashy thing, you're only as long-lived as your ability to maintain that flashiness. If you haven't built any substance behind it, you're not going to last, you're not going to have staying power. So I think it's important to be able to get the word out in some ways, but as far as true importance, I'm not sure that it's really that important. I mean, I don't think the city should be doing enough stuff that we should be having to notify people daily about what we're doing. I think we should basically get the F out of the way and let people get on with their lives. They shouldn't have to be checking what the city's doing every day. I don't believe growth is bad. I think you're not going to be able to stop Provo from growing if you let people grow. We have so many restrictive laws about housing right now. You can't build anything new in some of the residential conservation zones. You can't do anything new and interesting pretty much anywhere without city council's permission, the planning department okaying your plan 5 different ways. I think the rules about minimum dwelling sizes, that's just going to make the problem worse. I think if we really want to let people grow, let the city grow, we should just eliminate all the rules that the city has put in place, get rid of all the zoning laws, and let people build whatever they want, wherever they want, as long as it's safe, as long as it's stable, as long as it's not going to fall down in an earthquake or something, and as long as it's not, towering over their neighbors and, preventing the sunlight from hitting them. Maybe, maybe there's something to some of those laws, but maybe you shouldn't build more than 100 stories tall. But I think growth can be good. I think that if you eliminate the friction involved with zoning ordinances, you're going to get a lot of growth. You're going to get lots of growth. And with so many restrictions in the area right now, we've had less growth than we should. A lot of other areas are growing a lot better. A lot of other areas are taking the growth away from Provo. In order for a place to grow and still be a nice place to live, you need to have enough infrastructure, such as water, power, sewer, to maintain those services when the growth happens. But other than that, I don't think there should be much restriction on what people do. I really don't want to be controlling the growth of Provo. I wouldn't control the growth. I would let the people grow the way that they want to grow. And if they don't want to grow a certain way, then they shouldn't be forced to do that. And I think growth can handle itself. I've seen a lot of restrictions that have limited the ability for people to find housing here in Provo. Some of that is the limit on the number of unrelated people that can live in a house, limits on owner occupancy. I've seen some of my neighborhood meetings talking about how, one of the houses in our neighborhood, their daughter, the daughter of the person that owns it, is living in the house, and she's got roommates, and it's not owner occupied anymore, and they should be restricted from doing this and that. And it's like, they own the house. Why are you trying to get in their lives and tell them what they can do on their own property? I don't like that at all. I think we should just let people do what they want. If somebody wants to rent out part of their house to somebody, they should be able to. If somebody wants to set up an Airbnb and rent it out, they should be able to do that. I don't think we should be telling people what they can do on their own property. I think homelessness is a big problem here. I think affordable housing is a big problem. And I think it's exacerbated by some of the ordinances, such as the camping ban. I like the people here in Provo. I don't think there's anything wrong with the people here. I think the city government has overstepped its bounds and should go away. Well, there's the Disincorporation of Provo that I am pushing for, gathering enough signatures to call for a vote as to whether or not Provo should continue as a city. Provo City would cease its operations, pay off all of its debts by selling its assets, and then anything left would revert to the school district, and then we would be unincorporated Utah County. I think there are so many restrictive ordinances here in Provo that the easiest way to get rid of the ones that are oppressive, even if there are some good ordinances, is to just get rid of all of it. Get rid of Provo City altogether, become unincorporated again, and then if we decide we need some of the more finer laws, then maybe we could reincorporate and add some of them in. But I think we've gone too far at this point. And it's too difficult to try to repeal each and every little thing. We've gone too far, and we should just throw the whole thing in the trash. That's the easiest thing to do. West Side Planning, let's just let them do whatever they want. If one guy wants to open a store over here, and the other guy wants to open up a store over here, then let them both open up the stores, and whichever one does better, does better. If more growth is needed at the airport, then I would say let the airport grow. I honestly don't have any goals for the airport. I would say that If it makes economic sense for the airport to grow, then the companies that are doing the growth should probably pay for it. If they are, but they should also get the rewards for their efforts. If they're running an airline and they are going to make money from it, then they should pay for the infrastructure that they need. Maybe that's unrealistic. I have not actually analyzed the finances of the airport at this time, but my opinion is life finds a way. Oh. If it makes economic sense, then it'll happen. If it doesn't make economic sense, then it probably shouldn't happen. I'm a believer in Adam Smith's invisible hand. I think capitalism works. I believe zoning is a big issue here in Provo, but kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. I think all the restrictive zoning ordinances are kind of BS, and people shouldn't be restricted from doing what they want on their own property. And the easiest way to get 100% zoning compliance is to eliminate all the zoning laws. The beautiful thing about our legal system is everything's legal until it's illegal. And we've made so many things illegal here that now we feel like we're living in an oppressive society when we're supposed to have freedom. So on the matter of a new city hall, I think we probably won't need as many city employees if I am elected, if there is even anybody to elect, if there's even a city left. Therefore, we won't need a new city hall. But if we do need a new city hall and we find that the one that we have is unsafe, then I know that there are parts of it that were built more recently. Maybe we could just demolish the old parts and keep the new parts, and maybe build a big dome over the whole block there. I like domes. Maybe we could change the slogan for Provo from Welcome Home to Welcome Dome. What I know of Arcosante is it was an artist commune, and they basically didn't have any kind of building code there or something, and the artists were allowed to build what they saw fit, and so there was a lot of concrete, raw, brutalist architecture that was very beautiful, and they could build what they wanted and live there free from rules.
In a dome.
In a dome, yes, in a dome.
A welcome dome.
Yeah, welcome dome. And I really liked the Reams dome, and I was really sad when it was, stopped being used, and I liked it a lot. I was sad when it went away. My vision for the city in the next 4 years and beyond is domes everywhere. We should be the futuristic city that Provo could be. And without being actually a city, maybe we just maybe that won't limit our growth. Maybe if we just decide that we're not a city anymore, then we're not bound by the limits of the city limits. Maybe now we can just expand everywhere. I consider myself a futurist, and so my vision for Provo goes pretty far into the future. I really like the 10,000-year outlook that the Long Now Foundation proposes. So it's hard to say what will happen in the next 10,000 years. And it's not restrictive zoning ordinances. I'm not sure why anybody votes for anybody exactly. If your views align with the views of someone and you start to feel like they're going to support your goals, then that's who you kind of want to have in power. So if you want to have fewer restrictions, if you want somebody that is going to tear down obstacles and try to build opportunities, then I would support me. If you would like somebody that's going to, I don't know, I really don't know the views of the other candidates that well. But if you like them better, then you should vote for them. I tend to find loopholes. I tend to exploit the weaknesses of systems. And what I see right now in Provo is a weak system, a weak and corrupt system. And the biggest weakness in the system right now is the ability for the citizens to disincorporate the city. So that's what I'm pushing for. I'm pushing for disincorporation of the city. And if that doesn't work, then if I am elected mayor, then I would try to tear down the system from the inside. So that's just what I would do. And if that aligns with your viewpoint, then you should vote for me. If it doesn't, then vote for somebody else. So my website, if you'd like to know more or see this video again or something, my website is votefenley.org.